Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Stotra Sota Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Stotra Sota Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to the sum of devotees. All glories to the sum of devotees. All glories to the sum of devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Narayanam namaskritya Naram chaiva narottamam Devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamutirayet. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we are reading from 8th Canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chapter 6, entitled The Demigods and Demons Declare a Truce. Text number 12. Yatagnim edhashi amritam cha goshu bhuvi anam ambudyamene cha vritim yogair manushya adhiyanti hi tvam guneshu buddhya kavayo vadanti yatagnim edasyamritam cha goshu bhuvyanam ambudyamane cha vritim yoger manushya ariyanti tvam guneshu buddhya kavayo vadanti yatagnimedasyamritam cha goshu bhuvyanam ambudyamane cha vritim yoger manushya ariyanti tvam guneshu buddhya kavayo vadanti yatagnim edasyamritam cha goshu bhuvyanam ambudyamane cha vritim yoger manushya ariyanti tvam guneshu buddhya kavayo vadanti yoger manushya ariyanti tvam guneshu buddhya kavayo vadanti yatagnamedyashamritam cha goshu bhuvyanam buddhyamane cha vritim yoger manushya ariyanti tvam guneshu buddhya kavayo vadanti yatagnamedasyamritam cha goshu bhuvyanam ambudyamane cha vritim yoger manushya ariyanti tvam guneshu buddhya kavayo vadanti. Yatagnamedyashamritam cha goshu bhuvyanam ambudyamane cha vritim yoger manushya ariyanti tvam guneshu buddhya kavayo vadanti. Yata, as, agnim, fire, edhasi, in wood, amritam, milk, which is like nectar, cha, and, goshu, from cows, Bhuvi, on the ground. Annam, food grains. Ambu, water. Udyamane, in enterprise. Cha, also. Vritim, livelihood. Yogae, by practice of bhakti-yoga. Manushyaha, human beings. Adiyanti, achieve. He, indeed. Tvam, you. Guneshu, in the material modes of nature. Buddhya, by intelligence. Kavayaha, great personalities. Vadanti, say. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. As one can derive fire from wood, milk from the milk bag of the cow, food grains and water from the land, and prosperity in one's livelihood from industrial enterprises, so, by the practice of bhakti-yoga, even within this material world, one can achieve your favor or intelligently approach you. Those who are pious all affirm this. Purport. Although the Supreme Personality of Godhead is nirguna, not to be found within this material world, the entire material world is pervaded by Him, as stated in Bhagavad Gita, Mayam tatamidam sarvam. The material world is nothing but an expansion of the Lord's material energy, and the entire cosmic manifestation rests upon Him, matstani sarva bhutani. Nonetheless, the Supreme Lord cannot be found here, nachaham tveshtavastitaha. A devotee, however, can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the practice of bhakti-yoga. One ordinarily does not begin to practice bhakti-yoga unless he has practiced it in previous births. Moreover, one can begin bhakti-yoga only by the mercy of the spiritual master in Krishna. Guru Krishna prasade pai bhakti lata bij. The seed of devotional service is obtainable by the mercy of Guru, the spiritual master, and Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Only by the practice of bhakti-yoga can one achieve the favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and see Him face to face. Premāñjana-cchurita-bhakti-vilocanena santaḥ sadaiva hṛdayeṣu vilokayanti. One cannot see the Lord by other methods, such as karma, jñāna, or yoga. Under the direction of the spiritual master, one must cultivate bhakti-yoga. Shravanam kirtanam vishnu smaranam padasevanam. Then, even within this material world, although the Lord is not visible, a devotee can see Him. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Bhaktyamam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tatvataha. And in Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhaktyaham ekaya graya. Thus, by devotional service, one can achieve the favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although He is not visible or understandable to materialistic persons. In this verse, the cultivation of bhakti-yoga is compared to many material activities. By friction, one can get fire from wood. By digging the earth, one can get food grains and water. And by agitating the milk bag of the cow, one can get nectarian milk. Milk is compared to nectar, which one can drink to become immortal. Of course, simply drinking milk will not make one immortal, but it can increase the duration of one's life. In modern civilization, men do not think milk to be important, and therefore they do not live very long. Although in this age men can live up to 100 years, their duration of life is reduced because they do not drink large quantities of milk. This is a sign of Kali Yuga. In Kali Yuga, instead of drinking milk, people prefer to slaughter an animal and eat its flesh. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, in His instructions of Bhagavad Gita, advises Goraksha, which means cow protection. The cow should be protected, milk should be drawn from the cows, and this milk should be prepared in various ways. One should take ample milk, and thus one can prolong one's life, develop his brain, execute devotional service, and ultimately attain the favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As it is essential to get food grains and water by digging the earth, it is also essential to give protection to the cows and take nectarian milk from their milk bags. The people of this age are inclined toward industrial enterprises for comfortable living, but they refuse to endeavor to execute devotional service, by which they can achieve the ultimate goal of life by returning home back to Godhead. Unfortunately, as it is said, Nate vidhu swartagatim hi vishnum durashaya ye bahir arti manaha. People without spiritual education do not know that the ultimate goal of life is to go back home, back to Godhead. Forgetting this aim of life, they are working very hard in disappointment and frustration. Moga sha moga karma no moga jñāna vichetasaha. The so-called Vaishyas, the industrialists or businessmen, are involved in big industrial enterprises, but they are not interested in food grains and milk. However, as indicated here, by digging for water, even in the desert, we can produce food grains. When we produce food grains and vegetables, we can give protection to the cows. While giving protection to the cows, we can draw from them abundant quantities of milk. And by getting enough milk and combining it with food grains and vegetables, we can prepare hundreds of nectarian foods. We can happily eat this food and thus avoid industrial enterprises and joblessness. Agriculture and cow protection are the way to become sinless and thus be attracted to devotional service. Those who are sinful cannot be attracted by devotional service, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 7.28. Yesham tvantagatam papam jnanam punyakarmanam te dvanda mohanir mukta bhajante mam dridha vrata. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, and who are freed from the duality of delusion, engage themselves in my service with determination. The majority of people in this age of Kali are sinful, short-living, unfortunate, and disturbed. Manda sumanda matayo manda bhagya upadrita. For them, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has advised, Harinama, Harinama, Harinameva kevalam kalo nasteva nastevya nasteva tyaganyata. In this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is chanting the holy name of the Lord. There is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way. Om Jnana Timidandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yata Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitam Scha. Hey Krishna Kuruna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Nama om Vishnuparaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti-Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripaham Tamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinatarinam Hantaya Madhura Bala Haridasya Varyo Yad Rama Krishna Charanas Parasha Pramoda Manam Tanoti Saha Gogana Yastarorya Pani Yasuya Vasakandana Kandamulai Namashresham Manamapi Sachi Putram Atrasarupam Shri Rupam Tasya Gajarim Urupri Matrim Gostavatim Radha Kundam Gidiva Mahoradika Madhavasham Prapto Yasya Pratita Kripayam Shri Gurum Tam Natosmi. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Yatagnim edasya amritam chagoshu bhuvyanam ambudyamane chavritim yoger manusya ariyanti hi tvam guneshu buddhya kavayo vadanti. So before I start to speak, I would like to ask for the blessings of all the devotees, especially His Grace Dravida Prabhu, my Sanskrit hero. I used to listen to Prabhu's recordings. I still do, but in the beginning of my Krishna consciousness, when I was in the Bhakti program, I would play Prabhu's recordings of the Bhagavad Gita, and then I came across his recordings of the Nectarian Shlokas in the Bhagavatam years later. And now I get to meet him in person, and I feel myself to be very fortunate. I was thinking, actually, in material world, we look up to like celebrities or like musicians and whatnot. And I was thinking, in the material world, like the Rolling Stones, they were like pretty famous, And I was thinking, like Mick Jagger, he's like one of the best musicians of all time. And I got to sit with Dravida Prabhu and chant the holy name, and I was thinking, wow, this is better than meeting like any celebrity in the material world, because they can only give you some sort of material benefit, but what to speak of sitting next to a devotee who's capable of awarding one the favor of Krishna. So yeah, devotee association is sought after and glorified in the Shastra. So thank you, Prabhu, for all of your service to Srila Prabhupada's mission. Today we're hearing about the, let me just read the translation again. As one can derive fire from wood, milk from the milk bag of the cow, food grains and water from the land, and prosperity in one's livelihood from industrial enterprises, so by the practice of bhakti-yoga, even within this material world, one can achieve your favor or intelligently approach you. Those who are pious all affirm this. Yes, so one single purport of Srila Prabhupada can start an entire revolution in society. And this is sung within the first canto. Tadvag visargo janataga viplavo yasmin pratishlokam abhadyavatipi namanyanantasya yashon kintani yat shrinvanti gayanti grinanti sadavaha. That actually the message of the Srimad Bhagavatam is to create a revolution in this world's misdirected lives of the civilization. So we can see that the overall the pushings of materialistic society are actually leading our people towards hell, and they're going fast. They're going nowhere fast. But Srila Prabhupada, his mission of the Krishna consciousness movement, he says this in a few different places. He says it's a complete overhauling of the materialistic society. And what does that mean exactly? Overhauling. It means that we as devotees have to live ideal lives, and we have to be an example. We have to actually demonstrate what Srila Prabhupada has left us within his books. But if we as his followers do not read his books, then there's no way we'll have access to his mercy. We just met Mukunda Datta Prabhu in LA yesterday, and Prabhu grew up in that area. He was telling us how when he was a little boy, he remembers walking up to the doors of the LA temple, Rukmini Dwarkadish, and he was just explaining to us, he's in this WhatsApp group with us now. Most devotees are on their phones and WhatsApp and whatnot, but Mukunda Datta Prabhu shared this short video of Srila Prabhupada speaking, and it was quite nice. Some of you may have seen it if it's being circulated, but it's Prabhupada. He's sitting down in a room and you can see his silhouette, and he's saying, "You must read my books." He says, "If you do not read them, you will become restless." He says, "I've given you these books, I'm laboring so hard, but if you don't want to make the endeavor, how can I help you?" If you do not read, you will become restless. And yeah, Mukunda Datta Prabhu was telling us that, follow the regulated principles, chant your rounds, give attention to the holy name. But he says, if you want a steady life in Krishna consciousness, he says, you have to make a vow to read Prabhupada's books regularly. Prabhupada said different amounts in different places. Most people try to do an hour. I think there's one lecture on the 5th canto where Prabhupada said real tapasya is to read for like 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 hours or something like that. But obviously, our sampradaya isn't meant for bhajananandis. However, we are the goshtiyanandis, meaning that we go out into this world and we preach the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which Lord Chaitanya encouraged his followers, the 6 Goswamis, to do the same. Although they lived exemplary lives, we should follow in the footsteps of the acharyas and not get too hung up on remaining in a solitary place and giving attention to one's bhajan. We should become empowered and enthused and strengthened by our practice of Krishna consciousness, so much so that it's an overflow. We're able to go out and share this joyful process with others. The 6 Goswamis were expert at doing this. They scrutinizingly studied all the revealed scriptures with the aim of establishing eternal principles for the benefit of all humanity. So we should also scrutinizingly study Srila Prabhupada's books. Every word can bring about a revolution in society. And if we analyze Srila Prabhupada's mission, we see that the vision of our Acharya was so extraordinary. and especially in regards to agriculture and cow protection, which we're hearing about today. And I myself have chosen to dedicate my life to this aspect of Prabhupada's mission. And Prabhupada gave voluminous instructions in this regard. And yeah, his vision was very revolutionary. He wanted his restaurants to be cooking with ghee that was made from the milk that was being produced by the cows which were being protected. So now the standard in some temples, some devotee restaurants, maybe they're frying with some low-class oil, which certainly isn't good for one's health and isn't good for one's Krishna consciousness either. So mentally and spiritually, economically, we're really taking a hit. But we can see how Prabhupada's desire for his followers was to live a life in sattva gun, meaning that they eat foods that are healthy, they prolong one's life, foods that are sumptuous, fatty, juicy, nutritious. And ghee is actually known to be the essence of the cow. And it's very, very, very healthy. And you can see how the culture in Vrindavan is centered around cow products, milk products. And actually the occupations of the residents of Vrindavan are cow protection and agriculture. They live simple lives. They live lives in the village, and they're happy. And inasmuch as we are dependent on the outside world, the Ugra Karma society, we will actually take on their qualities. And to the degree that we do that, it is a detriment to our Krishna consciousness, inasmuch as we're dependent on the outside system. And at the present moment, we're deeply entangled. Srila Prabhupada gave instructions back in the 1970s. He says, you should start Varnashram College now. You should do it now. And this was in 1973, I believe. He gave many different instructions, but we can see how they have not been executed, at least as much as we should be doing within our society. And the acharyas of our sampradaya, the saints, actually are advising us to go in this direction. We can see in the first canto a very famous prayer by Kunti Maharani, a great Vaishnavi saint. She says, Krishnaya Vasudevaya, Devaki Nandanaya cha, Ananda Goparakamaya, Govindaya namo namaha. A very famous verse. A lot of devotees chant this verse in their Mangalacharan, but we can see in the purport, actually, Prabhupada makes a very powerful statement. He says that Lord Krishna is never pleased where these two things are lacking, Brahminical culture and cow protection. And it's not that we need to give our mercy to Mother Cow. We actually have to receive the blessings of Mother Cow and Father Bull. So some people think that, it's really not so important. Yeah, ahimsa milk is good, but really, Prabhu, it's like twice as expensive. How can I afford to do this? But we should support those devotee projects that are trying to fulfill these orders of our acharya. And if it's twice as expensive, then just use twice as less milk. We don't have to use so many milk products. Some of the sannyasis in our movement have made vows just to take ahimsa milk, just to set an example. Milk is a miracle food, as we're hearing today. Prabhupada says that it nourishes the finer brain tissue so one can understand spiritual topics. And it is a necessity, actually, for Brahminical culture. Brahminical culture and cow protection. You can't have one without the other. And actually, His Holiness Bhakti Vikash Maharaj, we were out in the garden with him one day, and Maharaj was telling us that book distribution without farm communities is like trying to clap with one hand. So they are actually complementary. Srila Prabhupada said that this Varnashrama Dharma is 50% of his mission. This is the second half of his mission. So, of course, we should get swept away in the nectarian waves of Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan mission. But if we analyze Srila Prabhupada's teachings, especially from 1975 to 1977, Srila Prabhupada was very much heavily stressing the need for Varnashram Dharma. But if we take the effort to hear Prabhupada's lectures chronologically, even in the early 60s, Prabhupada was saying Varnashram Dharma, Varnashram Dharma. My Guru Maharaj said Varnashram Dharma. And His Holiness Bhakti Raghava Maharaj, when we had the opportunity to meet Maharaj in Mayapur in his Varnashrama college, he says you practically can't turn a page of Prabhupada's books without coming across something about Varnashram Dharma. So we should heed to these instructions by our Acharya, because if we live in a dham, a holy dham, we live at a temple, the dham will cease to be a dham if we're not following the orders of the founder Acharya. It won't be a holy place, it won't be sacred. So we have to always pray for the shelter of our Acharya, Haha Prabhu Kodo Doya, that please give me your mercy, give me the shade, I need the shade of your lotus feet. Because this world is burning, it's a fire, blazing fire, samsara dava nalalita loka, it's engulfing the entire earth, this materialistic mindset that I am the enjoyer, everything is meant for me, it is I, it is mine. This strong tendency to forget Krishna is so much prevalent. And we can see that the society is set up where they're actually controlling us. And they're doing it through the educational system, the food system, the medical system, and even the media. And we're actually influenced by these things in ways that we don't even understand or we don't even realize. Yeah, that's why Srila Prabhupada wanted us to start farm communities so that devotees could have the facility to actually remember Krishna. We find that living in the cities, it's very hellish. Prabhupada said material city life is like hellish life. It's condemned. Everywhere you go, you're just bombarded with sense gratification. So, it's already hard enough for us to remember Krishna, yeah, in a place where the environment, you breathe fresh air, you drink clean water, you have nice milk, you eat foods that are, full of vitamins and nutrients because they're being grown on fertile land. Yeah, this is the life that Srila Prabhupada wanted his followers to push on. And the benefits of it are actually unlimited. And as the citizens of the earth, as they become humble and they become happy, they are satisfied because the earth actually provides everything necessary for human life. And I said a prayer this morning to Govardhan Hill, which is found in the 10th canto. And I believe it's the gopis who are actually glorifying. I could be wrong, but there's a beautiful prayer where it says that, "Oh Govardhan, you're the best of the devotees. Haridasya Varyo," and it's glorified because the hill, Giriraj, provides all these nice, nutritious grasses and fruits and shade and caves to play in, and there's roots there that the cowherd men can eat. So devotees worship Giriraj as Krishna, but Govardhan is Krishna himself, but he's actually a devotee. He's one of the best devotees. And the mood of the residents of Vrindavan is utter dependence on Krishna. And we can follow in their footsteps by becoming utterly dependent on the instructions of our spiritual masters. And yeah, there was a discussion in class the other day about, the importance of a Diksha Guru and a Shiksha Guru, and how in our Sampradaya we're like a Shiksha lineage. But we can analyze this, that, who is more important, the person that plants the seed or the person that waters the seed? So our philosophy is that they are equal. We honor our Shiksha Gurus and our Diksha Guru equally. Prabhupada writes this actually in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. He glorifies Bilva Mangal Thakur, and he's saying that, I think it was Chintamani, his spiritual master, Prabhupada says that he adored them both equally. But of course, having an intimate relationship with one's initiating spiritual master is recommended, and there's facility for that within our mission. We should have intimate association with advanced Vaishnavas, because they are capable of bestowing upon us the mercy of Krishna, like we heard, Guru Krishna Pasadi Pai Bhakti Lata Bija. And it's interesting enough, this Bhakti Lata Bija, this creeper of devotion, is actually inextricably linked with an animal. Can anyone guess what that animal is? There's a creeper. No, not a snake. Nope. Yes. A cow. The cow. Yeah. I heard Varshana Maharaj say this, that the Bhakti Lata Bija is very intimately. Yes, Prabhu. Yeah. Well, the creeper of devotion specifically, how it can be assisted and aided by the simultaneous worship of Gomata, worshiping Mother Cow. And Krishna gives importance to the cows even more than he does the brahmanas. He says, Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jagarataya Krishnaya Govinaya Namo Namaha. That the cows come first, actually. Yeah, Krishna is more pleased when the cows are given all comfort and care. We should follow and hear from the spiritual master regularly. And we should understand the minor instructions and the major instructions of the spiritual master. And we should just continue in our devotional service, because we may not understand all of the instructions given by the acharyas. Just like I was hearing recently, that it's actually not possible to fully explain what one has heard from their spiritual master. The knowledge is unlimited. It's not possible, practical to repeat everything that one has heard from the guru. But following the minor and the major instructions of the spiritual master will put up guardrails against our mind and our senses to keep us on the path. Because the Bhagavatam says, kamasya nindriya pritir labo jivete yavata jivasya tattva jñāsa narto yes cheta karma bihi. That one should only endeavor, inasmuch as they're allowed to inquire into the nature of the absolute truth. One should not become too enamored by sense gratification. They should just live jiveta, as self-preservation, just to keep the body fit and healthy for advancing in bhakti-yoga. Because even if we perform all of our duties perfectly, even if we live on a farm, even if we have nice well water, even if we're given all of these facilities, if it's not meant to facilitate remembrance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, according to the Srimad Bhagavatam, dharmasya svanusita pumsam vishvaksena katasuyaha not padayed yadiratim shrama eva hi kevalam. That any activity which we perform, if it's not awakening our dormant Krishna consciousness, it's considered a shrama eva hi kevalam. It's a total waste of time. So, there's also a similar verse in the 5th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, where it's a conversation of Jada Bharat and King Rahugana. And Jada Bharat is telling him that Rahugana tapasa na yati na chejaya na vipinad grihadva na chandasa na griha jalangisuyar vina mahat pada rajobi shekam. That even if one undergoes very rigid austerities, severe penances of surrounding oneself by fire in the summer, or putting oneself in cold water during the winter, or even worshiping the deity very nicely, or taking up vanaprastha, or giving up everything in material life and accepting the sannyas order of life, or even living an ideal life as a householder. Because there are many processes to understand the absolute truth, but the opinion of our acharyas is that one can only understand the absolute truth when they have been provided the opportunity to smear over their entire body the dust of a great devotee, of a mahat. So we could very rigidly follow varnashram, or we can, try our best to, with our own endeavor, our own power, get Krishna's mercy. But certainly we have to beg for the blessings of our superiors and always function in our society with the kavacha of trinadapi sunichena, that we should be humble. We should always be ready to give respect to others without expecting it in return. Yeah, I don't know what time it is or how long the classes go on here, but that's it. What time is it now?
8:20.
Oh, okay.
8:29.
All right.
Sorry, I was wrong.
Well, I spoke a little bit about the verse, and if there are any questions or comments or corrections, we can have a little discussion. Dravida Prabhu, would you like to add anything?
Online, because sometimes someone's online who'd like to chime in.
Okay.
Anyone online?
Any questions from the web? Dravida Prabhu, would you like to add anything?
I might think so.
Sure, Prabhu. Sankarshan Prabhu.
Thank you for the nice, well-put class that you did. I just had a question about, in the early days, when Srila Prabhupada would drink milk products, or like when was it that how did he do that exactly? That's what I was just wondering. When Srila Prabhupada would take milk products in the beginning or throughout the whole movement, when was it that he actually, was able to get some milk, or is that known, do you know?
It is, Prabhu. Yeah. I actually read an article recently about Kaliya, who was ISKCON's first cow. And they had this cow at New Vrindavan. And Prabhupada's instructions on the New Vrindavan scheme are voluminous. He gave so many, actually. And the way the devotees were living there in the beginning, they were growing the grain, they were plowing with the oxen. And there's a devotee, he's a Brazilian devotee, his name's Kalakanta Prabhu. Not the Prabhupada disciple, Krishna House, Kalakanta Prabhu, but he has started a ministry for cow protection and agriculture. And the GBC is encouraging him. He's been with this ministry for some years now, but he actually has visited all the different ISKCON farms in the world, and he's met with all the different leaders, and he's having lots of discussion. But he actually did a survey with all the statistics, and he said that New Vrindavan, during their heyday, in one day they were producing more milk than all of the goshalas of the world to combine today in our movement. Just in one day, they were producing I don't know how many hundreds, thousands of gallons of liters of milk. But over time, we saw that they weren't able to maintain the herd, and then the cows they weren't treated properly, and there was some sinful activity there, and there was a lot of suffering and a lot of heavy karma that was accrued. But yeah, there's a nice article, I can share it with you. It describes this cow, because when Prabhupada first came, they got this cow. Prabhupada was very affectionate to this cow, and they developed a really special relationship. And then, Prabhupada preached. He was the Parivrajaka-acharya, so he was always traveling. He didn't come back to New Vrindavan for some years, but when he came back, the same cow, Kaliya, came running across the prairie, the grass, and she saw Prabhupada, and she came running, and they had this really sweet, intimate exchange. So they would feed, they would give Prabhupada nice milk like that, ahimsa milk, and I think the devotees at one point in time were even making ice cream for Prabhupada, which was really a treat. Dravida Prabhu?
I don't know if there's anyone here. Maybe Suresh will remember this. But we had a lady here, a devotee who'd been here for many years, named Avadhuta. She's like legendary. She came, I think she was American, but she lived in Mexico for some time. She came to San Diego, joined up, and never left. And she, when I came, she was already elderly, and she became more elderly. And eventually, we all know who Ladli is. And Ladli took it upon herself to take care of her, because she had no family available. So she was on Social Security, and she gave us a good hunk of it for cow protection every month. that came. And I don't know if there was a central fund at that time, but one of the places that benefited from a largesse very much was New Taliban, where, as you may know, there's many cows there. They've done very well. So she eventually, she lived into her 90s.
Wow.
And yeah, she passed, I think, at 96 or something like that, maybe closer to 100. But Lodley took her on a tour of the farms in America. And when she went to New Taliban, she went out into the field there, and the cows were in the pasture, you know. And they gathered around her, and they just looked at her with, you know, devotion, and they said, no one ever saw anything like that before. Somehow they knew, they picked up on her vibes, or that, you know, it was supernatural when I heard about that. They never heard anything, nothing like that happened before or since. So that was just one, you know, little vignette about cow protection that many devotees don't know.
Yeah, we're really missing out if we don't have a relationship with the cows. Yeah. It's said, actually, that even seeing the cow immediately puts one in the mode of goodness. So what to speak of all the beneficial, you know, things one can receive from, you know, protecting mother cow. But it's not just we're after the milk, actually. In Vedic culture, the bull is considered to be one's father. And now we're really not able to conceive of this idea because we're so divorced from the original culture of the earth, agriculture. We were visiting different farms and goshalas in India, and we met one devotee who was explaining to us that actually the families were so dependent on the bull because they would plow the fields. And if the bull were to run away, the father, you know, in the middle of the night would run and go and chase this animal because they were dependent on this bull for their sustenance. But now we see, you know, tractors coming and taking over. And Srila Prabhupada says that actually the tractor is the death of the bull because, you know, with every turn of its wheels, it's compacting the earth. You know, they use the tractor, they put, you know, diesel in the tractors, and I don't know about you guys, but I've never known a tractor to reproduce itself. But the the bull, with every step, every hoof in the earth, it's actually nourishing like Prabhupada said, let the bulls go in the fields and pass stool and urine, and they purify the land. Yeah. But now the residents of the earth have become greedy and exploitative towards their Mother Earth, because generally a child drinks the mother's milk, but now we've become like vampires and we're drinking our mother's blood. Yeah, it's a mic drop. Are there any other questions or comments? Okay. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.